Hi, I thought I'd do a quick video just to show you how to set up an initial Unreal Engine 4 project on GitHub. So the first thing you do is log into GitHub, you go to your account, you press the little plus, new repository, I'm just going to call this test game. I'm going to make it private. Depending on your account settings, you may not have all these options. I don't need a readme, but my git ignore, I want to be Unreal Engine. So I'll create that. Now, next I want to, from the launcher, load Unreal. I'm going to make a new project. In my case, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to make it C++, first person, so it's got a bit of content, and call it test game. Alright, now I'm just going to close it. This can go away. I'm going to rename it, and in this case I'll just put an underscore after it, which is fine. I'm going to go into the Git client I use, which is SourceTree. I'm going to clone a new repository, and if I go back here, oh, I'm already there. Just grab that, put it here, and that's fine. And so we pull down our repository, all it contains is a git ignore. But we want our actual project there. So I'm just going to go into the test game underscore, the renamed project, cut all this, whoop, and paste it. And when I go back to SourceTree, I'll say all this has changed and was added. And it ignores all the compiled files, which is what it's told to do in that git ignore file. Another step I want to take is to add certain files to Git LFS, which is a Git large file storage. So let's go here, and the file types I want to track are UAsset, which is just the general content, and UMap, which is the maps. Other things you might want to add are generic data files like .dat. I know some plugins use that, and definitely do .zip as well, because some of the content on the marketplace especially contains art source files which might be zipped up, and the other one you can do is probably FBX as well, because they're other source files. Alright, so that'll do for now. And I'm going to stage all of those. And the standard message for your first commit is initial commit. I'll commit that. And I'll push it. And I don't know what this error is. This is on my end, so don't worry about it. And Git LFS is in action, so there's about 75 meg of UAsset and UMap files sorting out. Just note that with GitHub, the file size limit for non-Git LFS content is 100 meg, which is why I say remember to add other files like zip files, because if they go over 100 meg, you'll get an error if they're non-Git LFS. Alright, and that's that. So now if we go back to GitHub, refresh, it's all there, initial commit. Now the other thing you might want to do is add a plugin as a submodule. So what you do with Unreal projects, you just add a plugins directory if it's not already there. And the plugin I'm going to add from Git is the runtime mesh component. I've already got it here. Grab that, right click here, and no submodule. Add submodule. I don't know why that wasn't showing up, that's odd. And we don't want the relative path to just be that, we want it to actually be in plugins, so I just go like that. Now you see we have that plugin, and what it's done is it's added a Git modules file which contains the source and all the information about that submodule, and it's obviously added the folder. So what I'll do now is just say added runtime mesh component, and they're already staged, so commit. And push. Most Git clients will allow you to do the commit and push in one step. So here, I can tick this option here, push changes immediately to origin. And that's done. So now I'm going to go back to my game, refresh that. It should have a plugins directory, a runtime mesh component with this special icon which indicates that it's a submodule, and it will actually take you to that Git repository. So that's it. We've covered how to set it up, how to set up Git LFS, and how to add a submodule. And we're back. That's clone the repository. It took 7 minutes. So that's not too bad for 160 meg. Well, it's a bit bad. Alright, so let's see what it's done. It's brought in all this. In the content, these are all have valid file sizes, so it has pulled down the Git LFS content. If it hasn't, these would all be, I think, 0k or 1k, because it's just metadata, I think. The other thing is submodules, and it's pulled down the submodule, which is great. So let's test SourceTree. Okay. Clone new. That's not right. Test game underscore SourceTree. Advanced options, recurse submodules. Because it's an option, we want to use it because we're using submodules. And I'm not sure what this error is. I think it's a problem with my Git configuration, so hopefully that doesn't factor into anything. If this is any indication, this is going a lot faster than TortoiseGit. So I'm just going to stop the video again and come back to it. Alright, so SourceTree is done, and that took, see, 4 minutes. So once again, all that's there. Going to content, these all have size, so it's pulled down the Git LFS content. And if we go into plugins, it's pulled down the plugin. So that's cool. Now the last one we want to look at is, oh, by the way, SourceTree is version 2.4.8. So now we'll look at Git Tower. And the version of Git Tower is 1.2.2. And we'll go clone git repository. Test game underscore Git Tower. Initialize submodule. Yes. So, unlike the other two, the indicator that's actually doing something is pretty poor. Like it's this tiny thing up here. It would be great if it sort of opened it up in preparation with just a status of cloning and this dialog. So it says it's done. All the U asset, so the Git LFS stuff is 1 kilobyte, but it's pulled down the submodule. This little remote activity thing usually shows you what else it's doing, but let's just see if it's doing anything. So that, if all the files are 1K, it would be smaller than that. So it is doing something. So let's say 68.8 megabytes. I'll just wait a bit. And yeah, it's increased in size, so it's, and that just popped up that it's done it. So there's no indication that it's downloading the Git LFS content other than me checking file sizes, and it doesn't open the new repository. So yeah, it's not the best. So I'm just going to open it manually. No problems there. Showing a submodule. All up to date, great. So just to double check, these all have valid file sizes. Alright. So the next thing I want to do, just because this shows a point of difference between them, is I want to start a new plugin and convert it to a submodule, which is something I often do. So we'll start off with Tortoise again, load the project, build it. This isn't going to build because there's a bug in runtime mesh component. Hopefully it makes me a solution file so I can fix it. Okay. Build. Which is odd. Maybe because I'm not actually calling the plugin anyway. Alright, so let's go to plugins, new plugin, and I'm actually going to make a plugin that I'm going to make so that when I put it on GitHub it can stay there. It's going to be called Mesh Slicer. And all the defaults are fine, blank plugin. Actually it should be a blueprint library, I think. No, I'll just make it blank. Loads Visual Studio to edit the new plugin, but I don't really care. So it hasn't done anything special. It may have added it to the U project. Nope. And I think yeah, okay, so this is so I'm just going to copy this plugin to the other repositories. So it hasn't done anything to any other files. All it's done is set up this folder with all its content. So I'm not, that's the same across all of them. Alright, so we now have this plugin. Now, what I'd usually do once I've done the work on it and decide I want to convert it into a submodule is create a new repository. So I'll just do that now. Mesh slicer. Mesh plain slicing 4v4. I'm gonna make it private for now. I'll add a readme, and the git ignore can be Unreal Engine. Now, I might have made these changes and in the meantime I've committed it, so I'll just do that. And it's got all this garbage, so let me just add that to git ignore. Now it's better. Just say added mesh slicer. Commit and push. Once again, this error is on my end. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I'm just going to copy this git ignore to the other projects. Alright, so I've committed that. Now I want to make it a submodule. So what I usually do is rename this with an underscore, add the submodule, and I'll just get the repository, copy that, and that should be plugin / mesh slicer. Now if I do this, it's going to complain because I've already got that folder, but it has an option, force, and that didn't work either. So I'll commit it with that renamed folder, and the git ignore is going to be now pointing to the wrong thing. What do I want to do here? It says I've deleted all those and I've added those. That's fine. Okay, so I'll say removed mesh slicer Oh, and I forgot to say, Git Tower was very fast at cloning. That was great. Okay, so that's done. Now if I add it, and that was all good. And then grab all this, put it in there, go back, delete that. And then commit. I've deleted those, I've added the submodule. Added mesh slicer as submodule. And I'm just going to ignore that for now. Alright, so that's all good. Now if I go to my project, plugins, I've got mesh slicer as a submodule. That funny icon means it's a submodule. If I click it, it'll take me to the repository. Great. So now to see how this works in the other ones, if I go to SourceTree, go here, it'll tell me I've added all this. Remember, this is back when I just added it as a plugin, not as a submodule. So I pretend I've done stuff to it, and I've done other things to the project, and I've committed it. So I go stage all. This commit history is going to be really messy. Anyway, added mesh slicer. And that's done. Push. Oh, this is going to say I have to pull it. I'll see if I can get away without pulling it. So, for some reason, add submodule was grayed out. I don't know why it isn't now. And we'll just do the same. So I'm adding mesh slicer. I'm saying plugins, mesh slicer, and that's not going to work. Okay, so I'll do what I did before, stick an underscore there. Now this is going to come up with the same error, because the folder already exists. Yeah, so I'm going to ignore all this again, and I'm just going to stage the files that say the folder was removed. Removed mesh slicer. And we'll try that again. Alright, so that's cool. Let's add it. I can now get rid of that. Yeah, that's right. Alright. So that's all good. We'll now try Git Tower. The same thing. The Git ignores setup. The plugin is there. So I go here. Working copy. So I've added the plugin. So added mesh slicer. Commit. Now I've decided to make it a submodule. In order to do that, I need to pull down the Git repository. So I'm temporarily going to add an underscore to this. Go back here. Add these. Remove mesh slicer. Commit. And I'm going to attempt to add a submodule. There we go. Plugins, mesh slicer. Now, one of the things with this is, and I don't know why, you have to make the folder. I mean, why can't they make the folder? It doesn't update, so you just take off later, stick it on again, add submodule. Just make sure I haven't accidentally opened it elsewhere, no? Close it, open it again. Again, this is new to Windows, so there are a few quirks. I'd really like it to be better though, because I want to replace SourceTree. I don't want to have to use two different programs, because at the moment this does 50% of things really well, and SourceTree does the other 50% of things really well. So let's try that again. It's not an empty directory. Oh, it's probably... No? So that's just silly. So give it another shot. So it's already got, see, it screwed it up, but it added it to the config. So it's really done a number on the repository. And yet, so it's saying the submodule exists, but it doesn't actually show up here. So I'm just going to reopen it. And it's still not showing up. And nothing's showing up here. So I'll just try this again. Have to make the folder. The Git directory is found. And this is where you got to perform surgery. So it's probably not in Git modules because that's not showing up here, and it's not. So it's actually in here. And it's not. But it's here. So let's delete that. Finally. So usually I just give up and do that in SourceTree because that's ridiculous. And it's added the files, that's good. Okay. So far, TortoiseGit is the slowest. It took 7 minutes. SourceTree took 4 minutes. Git Tower, I didn't actually time it, but I'd say it took less than 2 minutes easily. So Git Tower is the fastest at cloning. Converting something, any piece of content in your repository to a submodule is pretty straightforward in TortoiseGit and SourceTree, but I think adding a submodule in general in Git Tower is buggy at best. It's a pain in the ass. So for that, I definitely go back to SourceTree. Now, let's just see how the pushing and pulling is. All these different programs. So Tortoise is the most up to date, and I think it's all committed, except for the submodule. So I'll just do that. You'll see with TortoiseGit, when you're in the submodule, it automatically knows. So it's actually a very cool program. It's been around the longest, so this is going to be the initial commit for the submodule. Commit and push. it's up to date. So we're not going to. How you usually do push pull here is git sync. You can use an explicit. I think there's an explicit push and pull. Yeah, push pull. But sync is just a useful UI that does both. You got pull and push. So pull, it'll say it's already up to date. I think. Yeah, it's the same. So I'll go to SourceTree. And I want to I think it's called Rebase. I'm going to go back to that. But it doesn't. This is fairly useful. It checks your submodules first to see if they need to be pushed. Alright, so it's saying I need to do git pull. So do git pull. What I like about SourceTree and TortoiseGit is they both give you what is essentially the raw Git output. Alright, so that's all that, and then see if I can push this. And it's automatically made the merge commit. See there, it's done the merge. So if we go to Git Tower, so underscore's gone there, and I want to delete it from here. And I want to pull the latest, but before I do that, I want to say, I want to commit this and say added mesh slicer submodule. And then I'm going to pull. If I do that, what I really don't like is you got the tiny little thing. If it's fast, you have no idea what happened. There's no log, there's no visual output of what it's actually done. So I assume it's up to date. I don't know what this little 4 thing means. Anyway, what we'll do next is, so again, I mean, TortoiseGit and SourceTree are on par. Git Tower, just the UI experience is a bit lacking. Like, you don't get any information about what's just happened. It actually took me a while to notice that anything was actually happening at all with just this bottom corner window here. So I'm going to go back to Tortoise, and I'll just make a change to the submodule. So I'll just call this added file. Say added in test game Tortoise. Save. Actually, so I'll do it from multiple. I'll say added file underscore Tortoise. So if I go back to the base repository and go commit, it's not going to pick it up. But if I go into the submodule itself, automatically picks up that it's a submodule, and I go commit, added test file, commit and push. Done. Now in SourceTree, I'm going to pull that down. You see it's got this little icon next to it. That means there's changes on the remote that you don't have. So it's going to right click on that. And this is where SourceTree is lacking. There's no pull submodule. So even if I do this in the base repository, I don't think it pulls down the submodules. So I've got to double click it, which opens up that submodule. I go pull. And let's grab the other changes as well. So go back here, it's still indicating there's something we don't have. I think that's what it means. That's definitely what that arrow means for this repository. And it's gone. So it must check it at a certain interval and just hadn't updated. Alright, that's fine. So now if I go to Git Tower, pull the base repository, completed. There's no indication these have changed, or this has changed, but I'll right click on it. The UI is a bit slow as well. It's just, yeah, it's a bit odd. Let's go fetch. I don't know why there's not a pull. That's handy. So if I go fetch all submodules, again there's no indicator. That it's done anything. If I double click on it, it does the same as SourceTree and opens up as a sub thing of the main repository, which is kind of cool. Initial commit. If I added a file. Cool. Add a test file. So that's a bit more painful. It doesn't tell you anything's changed. And you can't just pull from here, and there's no, the update option is, and synchronize are grayed out. So I'm not sure what's up with that. Alright, so we'll test, in order to test TortoiseGit, the updating submodules, I will go into the SourceTree version and do the same thing I did before, added file, SourceTree. And I'll just say this file was added with SourceTree. And now we can have a look at how SourceTree deals with pushing. We have another icon here indicating something's changed. So this is already open. It's changed. Added test file. Stage all. I'm going to use this option, commit, which should also push it. Alright. So in order to test Tortoise on what we did before, which was updating a submodule, I've now added that file, so the submodule will have changed. So let's go in here. If I do a sync, it's not going to pick up the submodule update. However, there is this option here, submodule update. So see what that does. This, I think, indicates that's changed. So if I go there and right, there's no source folder. This is a thing I discovered in TortoiseGit a while ago. It doesn't actually check out a branch in submodules. So check out master. There we go. So that new file isn't there. So I'm just gonna go back and do what we did before. Sync submodule update. And again, this would indicate something's happened in Mesh Slicer, but it goes back. That's bizarre. Anyway, go back to master, and then I'll just do, again, it's picked up that it's in the submodule, so I'll do a git sync within the submodule, pull. So I don't know what I was doing before with that update submodule thing, because that would be quite useful if you could pull your repository and update the submodules at the same time. But this has worked. So that's just a little quirk. So now we've checked updating a submodule. And for Tortoise and SourceTree, we've tested. So we've tested pulling a submodule in all of them. In Tortoise and SourceTree, we've tested pushing the submodule update. So the last one I'll do is Git Tower. So just like before, I'll just update this. So again, no indication that's changed, but I know it's changed, so I'll go into here, pull, and we should see this new file up here. Yep. So add our last file, added file underscore Git Tower. Added with Git Tower. It says it's changed here. Does it say nothing's changed here? Yeah, see, it says it's changed when you've added files locally. It's a bit inconsistent. Let's say added test file. Unfortunately, unlike the other ones, there's no commit and push combined action. So let's go commit, push. Is it going to go away? Nope. Okay. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do before I end the video is see how they deal with merge conflicts. So, start with Tortoise again. And in source, I'll add a file called, it doesn't really matter, test. inside this. Say TortoiseGit, and I'll just make sure I have the latest version. I should. Yep. And then on GitHub, I should be able to add a text file. Create new file. What do we call it? Test capitals.txt. GitHub. Right. So now I want to say commit added test file, and we want to add that, and commit and push. There should be some kind of error here. It'll probably tell me to pull first because I'm now out of date. Yep. So pull. Now we should get the merge issue. Yeah. Alright, so it says there's a conflict with at least one file. So, okay. There's a resolve thing here. And what are my options? Compare with base. What's base? To be honest, I don't know how to read this, but I trust it's useful in comparing them. So basically you can either say it's resolved, which I don't know how that works, but then you can say resolve with what you're merging, so the origin, or resolve using your local copy. So in this case, because I want to test the others, I'm going to say use the origin. So yes, it's resolved, okay, and then it tells me I should commit. It tells me it's a special commit. Basically it's on automatic merge. So commit and push. But this was solved, so I'm going to ignore it. Cool. So now if I go back to my repository, refresh, this should be the GitHub one. Yep. Great. Yep. Okay. So we'll do the same thing with SourceTree. So I'll go here, source, test. SourceTree. Back to the actual repository. And working copy. There we go. Not sure why it didn't pick that up straight away. Alright, so I know this is going to fail, but the stage selected, added test, commit, it's going to tell me I need to pull, or not. Alright, so it's telling me I need to pull. Get out of that, pull. I should get the error here because there's conflicting files. I didn't get an error. And why does that say 3? Resolve conflicts? Right, I'm not sure what this is all about. So, there's no, as far as I can tell, there's no built-in diff tool. But I can say resolve using minor layers, or like in TortoiseGit, just say it's resolved. So I'm going to say theirs. I guess that means the origin. That's a bit ambiguous. Okay. GitHub, yeah, so that's done it. Just going to get rid of this garbage. Fixed conflict. Commit. There's no automatic merge commit like there was in TortoiseGit, so I'm not sure if that's an issue or not. I'll just check that this is still GitHub. Yep. Go here, refresh that. Source text should say GitHub. Yep. Right, last one is Git Tower. So go here, make my test file. Say Git Tower. I get a lot of this as well with Git Tower. So this is basically a temporary file that it creates to say it's working in the repository and to not let anything else do anything to it. So usually I'm just going there, delete it, but it's not actually there. Okay, added test, commit, push, and this is going to give me an error because I'm behind. But you wouldn't know because this thing is so small. I wonder if it comes up with a dialog. Yeah, okay, cool. Yada yada, git pull. Alright, so it's the same message as the others, that's cool. Pull. What would I be stashing? That's a submodule. That's stupid. Do not stash. Auto update submodules, always on. Yeah. Update all submodules. But I just said update all submodules. Why is it asking me again? What? Alright, so there's a conflict. Ah, that's really nice. My version... So it says it's the same file, but it doesn't say anything about the content. Resolve using both versions? Now we got a diff tool. It's actually using Tortoise's diff tool, which I remember it asking me for one in the setup, and that's what I chose because that was the only option. So theirs is GitHub, mine is Git Tower. So in this case, I know told me here what that is, GitHub. I know I want to use the GitHub one, so I'm going to say, oh, what? Their version, resolve using their version. Okay, so it's removed Git Tower and it's added GitHub because it's basically reverted to that. It's automatically set up the merge, and it's done this garbage again. Alright, commit, push, and 5 I'm guessing would mean these 5 files here. And again, I'm not sure why submodule counts, it usually doesn't. When I do that, those should disappear. Okay. And alright, we'll just verify what we did. So test should say GitHub. When I actually go to GitHub, fresh, test, says GitHub. Great. So that's it for this video. It's fairly simple stuff. There's nothing too fancy. There's no rolling back of commits or anything like that. So I've compared the 3 applications. They're the latest version of each as of the time of the video. Again, Git Tower was the fastest at cloning. It was less than 2 minutes. SourceTree was about 4 minutes, and TortoiseGit was 7 minutes. Committing was pretty much the same across all of them. Pulling and pushing was pretty much the same. The conflict resolution, I think the best experience was Git Tower, although I'd rather it didn't make all these files. The submodule stuff, TortoiseGit was pretty good, SourceTree was pretty good, Git Tower was a bit of a mess. Although just in terms of pulling, Git Tower is also a bit of a mess with the submodule stuff, because it said, do you want auto update the submodules every time? I said yes. Then it asked me again, and I said yes, and then it asked me a 3rd time. So that's not ideal. In fact, I'll see if it asks me again. It's asking me again. So this option, I'm not sure. It's not, yes, I mean, that shouldn't ask me twice. So I would really like to use Git Tower, but there are a few issues with it. One of them is it's handling of submodules. The updating, even adding, was a bit painful. And the UI, this little box down here just doesn't cut it. You need to be able to, even if it does come down here, you need to be able to click on it and have it open up the full console output, and don't automatically close it when it's done. Same with the clone, it's tiny. It'd be better to open up a new window indicating it's setting up a new repository, the status thing on it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. TortoiseGit's the oldest, most well established. It works pretty well. SourceTree is pretty good. But being a commercial product, I'd expect Git Tower to be better. And I think they've got a bit of catching up to do. Although the conflict resolution is cool. See ya.